Good afternoon everybody, myself Akshay Jilova, and I am here to discuss with you the topic picture tubes in the subject consumer electronics. So, as I said picture tubes, this will be our topic for today. In this visual you can see the picture tube which we normally see in our living room and in our drawing room. So, this picture tube it contains various parts. Let us get familiar with the various parts of the picture tube, how the picture tube looks like and what are the various parts of the picture tube. This is neck of the picture tube, as you can see from here. This is bell. Bell means this extends from a small orifice at the neck to a large one which we see at the raster or the screen which we call normally. So, raster is this is raster. So, this bell means a shape like bell which extends from a small orifice and into a larger one. This is tension band. Tension band is stretched around the periphery of the raster or screen, and this encloses the screen in itself. This is essential for keeping this intact and for the safety purpose also. Next is envelope or bulb. The bulb, as we normally see the bulb, similarly we have a bulb here also. This bulb is something where the whole of the light we see. So, this glows when it is under the effect of electron beam which covers this entire screen, and where we see the different pictures or illuminated screen. So, that is envelope or bulb, which this is called. Next is screen or faceplate. This part is the visual part or the visible part which we see in our TV. So, this is the front portion of the television where the pictures or the images are formed, and these images are formed with the help of all these three parts. These are the essential parts. So, screen or faceplate is the virtual output which we see the pictures at. Picture tube. And this topic will be covering the different parts of this topic, picture tube, the introduction, what the picture tubes are, what they really mean. Then monochrome tube. Monochrome tube means black and white tube, as we have different tubes. So, the very earliest one was monochrome tube, where we see the pictures in black and white information. So, any picture can be displayed by the different proportion of combination of black and white, means black, white, gray, light black, dark black and white. So, various shades of black and white. So, it depends upon the proportion in which white and black are being mixed, and the total combination of this forms a picture. Then we will move to the last part, which will be color picture tubes. As we have a monochrome picture tube, similarly we have color picture tubes also. Nowadays we normally see the color picture tubes, and the output is seen in the form of color images. So, these color images are formed with the help of color picture tubes. These picture tubes are further divided in various parts. These are the three parts which we will be covering them: delta gun, precision inline and tint on. These are the three basic tubes which are discussed under this heading, color picture tube. This image shows the detailed construction of a monochrome picture tube. In monochrome picture tube, we can see the various parts. Here it is the base, where we have the connections. Then we have this cathode, glass envelope. This whole envelope is glass envelope. Control grid, this is G1 is control grid. G2 is accelerating anode, then it is focusing anode, centering magnets, pin cushion error magnet, these are two in quantity. High voltage connector EHT, we will be discussing what EHT means. This is also called final anode. Aluminized coating, phosphorus coating, glass faceplate, external conductive coating, deflection yoke. This is very important, deflection yoke. It contains the deflection windings. There are two deflection windings, the horizontal and vertical deflection winding, and then here we have in the last the electrostatic focusing, which is done with the help of focusing grids. So, what happens actually in the monochrome picture tube, that electrons are emitted from the cathode, and just after the cathode we have control grid. So, the purpose of providing control grid is it controls the velocity of electrons which are being emitted from the cathode. As we know, electrons are emitted from the cathode. When it is heated up, the electrons are emitted. Those emitted electrons, here emission process takes place, and those emitted electrons have different velocities. So, as we want these electrons to move forward towards the screen, what we want, that velocity of electron should be controlled all the way during its journey from the cathode to the final when we get the output. So, this velocity is controlled with the help of a control grid. Then these electrons are made to focus at a point P here, and after the focusing again they diverge, and then they are exposed to the accelerating grid. First, the velocity of electrons is controlled. All the electrons which are being liberated by the from the cathode are made to come at the same velocity, and the uniform velocity, one velocity which we have, then from that velocity we give the desired acceleration to the electrons with the help of accelerating anode. So, that when electrons travel from cathode to the screen or to the phosphorus coating, they travel at a high velocity, so that the proper kinetic energy can be generated, and that kinetic energy will be converted into optical output or the signal which itself is. Then we have the next grid, which is called focusing anode. This focusing anode, the focusing is done with the help of electrostatic focusing. Here the focusing is electrostatic focusing. What happens when electrons travel? They travel in the form of a cylindrical beam. This is the beam of electron which travels from cathode to anode. So, within that beam, some electrons are placed in the inner side of the beam, some of them are at the outer side or periphery of the beam. So, these electrons will be experiencing a different force of attraction from the different quarters. So, due to those different force, because of their placement, the intensity of force will be different, and when intensity of force is different, then what will happen? These electrons will try to get scattered in various directions. So, that scattering of electrons has to be avoided, and how can that be avoided? We avoid that by employing an electrostatic focusing by using a focusing anode. So, purpose of this focusing anode is to keep the electron beam focused, and it does not allow electron beam to get scattered, or the electrons itself to get scattered in various directions. So, all the electrons are kept intact within the beam, and when those electrons are focused in this way with the help of focusing anode, these electrons when travel at a high speed, they will strike in the form of a point. Our aim is that all the electrons being liberated at a particular instant should strike the phosphorus coating at the same time and at the minimum possible area, which is in the form of a point. So, this depends upon the resolution of the screen. What is the resolution of the screen? Depending upon that, the area of the minimum or pixel is defined, and that is also called the beam spot. So, the beam spot should be fine enough to give a proper illusion of the screen. So, due to that, what we require is that the electron beam should be focused. So, this is achieved with the help of providing a focusing anode. Then we have centering magnets. The purpose of these centering magnets is when there is no current in the vertical and horizontal deflection coil, then the electron beam should strike at the center of the screen. So, this is the purpose of centering magnet, so that it is properly at the origin level from where the different deflections are being provided either in horizontal direction or in vertical direction. Then we have pincushion error. The purpose of pincushion error is that deflection windings, when they are set up, there should not be any error. These deflection windings should be at the 0 force level, or the magnetic field present in the deflection coil should be 0. So, that is done with the help of pincushion error. If any error is there, that is avoided by using pincushion error. Then we have final anode, and before the final anode, it will be necessary to discuss what this EHT is. This EHT is what it is 18 kV, as you can see from here. It is extra high tension voltage which is provided at the aqueduct coating or final anode. This aqueduct coating is required so that the secondary emission of electron can be avoided. What the secondary emission is, we will just discuss. Then we have phosphorus coating here. As we know, the phosphorus has got a characteristic that when fast moving electrons strike at the phosphorus coating, the light will be emitted from the coating. So, what we do in nutshell, the electrons are emitted from the cathode, their velocity is controlled, and that controlled velocity is given the desired acceleration, which is enough to cause an illumination when it strike the phosphorus coating. And during its journey from the cathode to phosphorus coating, this beam of electrons is accelerated and then kept focused, so that it does not get scattered. Electrons does not get those electrons present in the beam do not get scattered, and they are intact, they remain within the beam. And when they strike at the phosphorus coating, they strike in the form of a point. What the shape of or size of the point will be, that depends upon the resolution of the screen. For what resolution that a particular screen has been designed, depending upon that, beam size will be decided, and depending upon the beam size, focusing will take place. Then we have the glass plate. The purpose of glass plate is nothing, but it keeps the whole this picture tube intact, and we see the picture through the glass. External conductive coating, this external conductive coating is required to for the degaussing circuit. Then we have deflection yoke and deflection winding. These are important. Deflection yoke and deflection winding. Deflection yoke is a combination of two deflection winding. Within the deflection yoke, we have deflection winding which are horizontal deflection winding and vertical deflection winding. We can see from here we have two patterns of lines, one is in horizontal direction and one is in vertical direction. So, these two pattern represent the two windings which are responsible horizontal and vertical deflection. So, when electron beam moves from cathode to the phosphorus coating, what happens under the effect of this current present in deflection yoke, the bending of electron beam will take place. Because for the display of picture, what we do here, we scan whole of the screen. So, to scan whole of the screen, we require that beam spot should move in both the direction, horizontally and vertically, and it should move at such a fast rate that when beam strikes at a particular point, it moves to next point and consequently to next point, and in this way it covers whole of the screen, and one should not be able to identify that beam is moving at a particular velocity or beam is moving on particular pixels. So, for that we require very high scanning beam. For that high scanning, high speed scanning, what we require, the current in horizontal and vertical deflection coil should vary at such a fast rate. So, it depends upon the intensity of current in horizontal and deflection coil, and also the direction of the current in which it is moving, so that the beam spot is moving. Beam spot moves from top left hand corner to the right, and consequently from top to bottom. So, under the effect of current in horizontal deflection coil, the beam spot will move from left to right, and under the effect of current in vertical deflection coil, the beam spot will move from top to bottom. Now, the final anode, the purpose of final anode is when this fast moving electrons strike with the phosphorus coating, what happens? The light is seen at the phosphorus coating. So, whole of the kinetic energy is converted into light information, but what happens after striking the phosphorus coating, these electrons become directionless, because when they are emitted from the cathode, they are under the effect of various grids. This is control grid, accelerating grid, focusing grid, horizontal deflection coil, vertical deflection coil. There are various forces under the effect of which this electron beam will travel and it will move, but once those electrons strike at the phosphorus coating, there is no such field present and these electrons become directionless, and when they are directionless, what will happen? These electrons will keep scattering here, they will keep wandering here, and they will interfere with the incoming electron beam, and those electrons present in the incoming electron beam, when they are intercepted by the electrons present in this drift area, what will happen? They will cause the diffraction. So, due to this, to avoid this, what we do? We provide here EHT, extra high tension, which is of such a high voltage that it is 18 kV, and this is also called the final anode. So, when these electrons strike with the phosphorus coating and they are the under effect no such field, no field, what happens? These electrons, because of this high positive potential here, which is provided at the aqua dye coating, though it is not shown here, but this coating, this dark coating on the inner side of this picture tube, this is aqua dye coating. So, after striking these electrons, when they become directionless, because of presence of such a high field, and which is positive because electrons are negatively charged particles. So, these electrons will fast travel into this aqua dye coating and they will be eliminated. So, this here the journey of electron will end, that is why it has been given the name final anode or EHT or aqua dye coating. So, that these electrons which are present here in the drift area, they are no longer present there and they no longer keep interacting with the incoming electron beam. What the picture tube is? The picture tube is very similar to the cathode ray tube used in an oscilloscope. The glass envelope contains an electron gun structure that produces a beam of electrons aimed at the fluorescent screen. When the electron beam strikes the screen, light is emitted. As I just have told, when the fast moving electron beam will strike with the phosphorus screen, the light will be emitted. This is the property of phosphorus screen or phosphorus, that when fast moving electrons strike with the phosphorus, they lose their kinetic energy. The kinetic energy which is acquired by having the passing that electron beam through the accelerating anode is converted into light energy. It has one electron gun and continuous phosphorus coating that produces a picture in black and white. As I told you that we are discussing the monochrome picture tube. So, it is in black and white information, whole the information will be in black and white, and it will be different proportion of black and white which will be mixed together to form a particular picture. For color picture tubes, the screen is formed of 3 different phosphors and there are 3 electron beams, one for each color phosphor. The 3 colors are red, green and blue, produced by 3 phosphors combined to produce different colors. As we know, in color picture tube we have different colors. So, these 3 colors which are just discussed here, red, green and blue, these are called the primary colors, and all other colors are formed by the combination of these 3 colors. By varying the proportion of these 3 colors, the new color is achieved. So, if when proportion of a particular color is changed, the resultant color also changes. So, for color picture tube, we have 3 electron beams there, those are generated from 3 different electron guns, and those 3 electrons beam strike at the different spots depending upon the nature of the picture tube, color picture tube, whether it is delta gun, PIL or trintron, which type of tube it is. we have different pattern of color phosphors which is present there. So, when electron beam from a particular electron gun strikes a particular spot, that particular color is produced, and the combination of those three colors, because we have three such electron guns and those will strike at the designated spaces which are designated for themselves. So, they will illuminate the different kind of color, and those three spots are so closely placed that when we see it normally, what we see the combination of these three colors, and it depends upon the proportion of those three colors, what the proportion of red, what the proportion of green, and what the proportion of blue is, the resultant color is seen. We will just discuss the electrostatic focusing also, as I just have explained what the focusing means. Electrostatic focusing: the electric field due to positive potential at the accelerating grid extends through the opening of the control grid right to the cathode surface. The orientation of this field is such that besides accelerating electrons down the tube, it also brings all the electrons in the stream into a tiny spot called crossover. This is known as first electrostatic lens action. As we see just before the controlling grid, this is electrostatic focusing. Here the electrons are made to stream into a very tiny spot called crossover. From there they move further in, they keep on moving with the direction, they hold the direction, and again the focusing is done. So, that first action where they are brought into a tiny spot which is called crossover, this is known as first electrostatic lens action. As with the help of a lens, we make the light rays to converge into one spot, or one we make those rays to focus in one point. Similarly, electrons are also made to focus at that point which was designated by P in the picture tube. The electrode voltages are so chosen, or the electric field is so varied, that the second point where all electrons get focused is the screen of the picture tube. The electrostatic focusing is preferred over magnetic focusing because it is not affected by very much by changes in the line voltage. So, in electrostatic voltage it is so chosen that electric field is, and it is so varied that second point where electrons are focused is on the screen. So, two types of focusing is there. One focusing was where in the picture tube just after the control grid we had a point P where the electrons were made to converge, or being collected at in the form of a tiny point spot which is called point or crossover. From there onwards, those electrons are made to travel under the effect of various control grids, various grids, which is focusing grid, accelerating grid, and deflection coils. So, focusing at the second stage is done in such a manner that when electrons converge into form of a point, and the size of that point is defined, as earlier I have explained, by the resolution of the screen. What is the resolution of the screen? Depending upon that, the size of the point will be fixed. So, those electrons, our aim is that when second focusing is done, the second stage of electrostatic focusing, electrons should converge into a point which is equal to the size of the beam spot, which is equal to the smallest part which can be scanned, and that takes place at the screen, which is the phosphorus coating. So, this is to be ensured. Next is beam velocity. In order to give the electrons stream sufficient velocity to reach the screen material with proper energy to cause it to fluorescence, a second anode is included within the tube. This is a conductive coating with a colloidal graphite on the inside of the wide bell of the tube. This coating, called aquadag, usually extends from almost halfway into the narrow neck to within 3 centimeter of fluorescent screen. So, here we are concerned with the beam velocity. Our first aim is that electrons, when they strike at the fluorescent screen or the phosphorus screen to give a fluorescence, they should have sufficient velocity to do so. Until and unless electrons have sufficient velocity, the sufficient velocity means sufficient kinetic energy, because it is the law of conservation of energy. So, if we have to get that light produced on the phosphorus coating or phosphorus screen, what we require? We require a sufficient energy should be there in the electron beam, which will cause the emission of light or fluorescence. So, to give that fluorescence, what we do? Electrons in the beam are made to travel at such a high speed, means at they should acquire such a high kinetic energy. So, that when they strike at the phosphorus screen, that kinetic energy is converted into light information. So, this is our primary aim. For that we require a beam's velocity. So, beam velocity is controlled with the help of accelerating anode, and after those electrons strike the fluorescent screen or phosphorus coating, then as I explained while explaining the picture tube in detail, those electrons become directionless, because now they are not under the effect of any field and any grid. So, to ensure that those free electrons do not wander in the drift area, what we do? We provide the aqueduct coating, as it is mentioned here. We give the coating. This coating is called aqueduct. This is called aqueduct coating, and it usually extends from almost half the way into the narrow neck. The neck of the beam is narrow, from where the bell starts, from there onward and to within 3 centimeter of the fluorescent screen. Where the fluorescence occurs, where the phosphorus coating is provided, within 3 centimeter of that, this aqueduct coating should end up. Next is deflection yoke. It may be noted that a perpendicular displacement results because the magnetic field due to each coil reacts with the magnetic field of the electron beam to produce a force that reflects the electrons at right angles to both the beam axis and the deflection field. So, here it is very clear from the picture. This is called deflection yoke. Here the deflection yoke is the cross sectional view of deflection yoke is shown. Here we have the electron beam, it is the top. Here we have the vertical raster plane and we have horizontal deflection winding. These are the horizontal deflection windings. Here we have vertical deflection winding. This is horizontal raster plane. This is bottom. This is top of the screen. This is bottom of the screen, and this is horizontal raster plane. And here we have the electron beam. So, this winding, this cross sectional view of winding is of vertical deflection winding. Here we have a pair of vertical deflection winding, one is this and second is this. Similarly, we have a pair of horizontal deflection winding, one is this and second is this. So, under the effect of and this is the glass envelope, this is the glass envelope. Here we have the deflection, which is electromagnetic deflection. The focusing was electrostatic, but the deflection is electromagnetic. Why we have electromagnetic deflection, we will just discuss after this. Here we have these two windings. This horizontal deflection winding, the presence of current in this horizontal deflection winding will cause the presence of magnetic field. As we all know, the current is associated with magnetic field. If there is current present in this horizontal deflection winding, we will be having a current present also, the magnetic field also present here. Similarly, current present here also will be having magnetic field present. So, depending this magnetic field interacts with the magnetic field associated with the electron. Here we have written the magnetic field of the electron beam. electron beam also has got some magnetic field, because what current is flow of electrons. So, if there are electrons flowing in the electron beam, that also has the same properties as the property of current flowing in the winding. So, here the flow of electron beam will have a magnetic field associated with itself. So, magnetic field in this horizontal deflection coil or magnetic field due to